Aiden, are you still there? Good morning. Welcome into the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier on Tide 100.9 on your radio dial. You can also catch us on the live stream under Martin Houston 35 and X's and O's. You can find us on Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. We glad to have you in on the program with us. I want to invite you to join the conversation 205 342 9904 205 342 9904. That's the Alabama One hotline, live, local, and ready to get things going. And you can always chat us up. So we look forward to incorporating your comments into today's conversation. Remember, this is a day that the Lord has made. So let's rejoice, be glad in it. Take some time today to notice someone, love someone, serve someone, be the difference you want to see in the world today. Big day for several former Alabama stars and players alike. Will Alabama get two or three into the first round, maybe four? Who are those four candidates? As we'll talk about the NFL draft. Today's playbook also gives us an opportunity to keep the conversation going around what's the strength, weakness, opportunities, and threats, or the SWOT analysis of this team. If we get to that conversation, we'll also look at key performance indexes. What is it that has made Alabama great throughout the years? What will keep making them great in terms of is it the same five when Nick Saban came here, when he built this program up on uh, recruiting and then other things from there? Or should the KPIs be evaluated? If you were the coach, what would be the five key performance indexes you want to get to? We can still talk about your biggest concerns, your biggest excitements, and we can take a jaunt around the capstone today if you want to talk about things other than football NFL draft. And of course, we'll kick off the second half of today's program with Hank South talking about what I believe still remains Nick Saban's number one KPI, and that is recruiting, recruiting, recruiting at Hank South 247 Sports. Bama Online Recruiting will be with us to have that conversation. Good morning, X. How you doing, sir?
Good morning. Doing well. How are you?
Doing well, doing well. Well, hey, big day is finally here. Does Alabama break another glass ceiling today in terms of the NFL draft?
I believe Alabama does, and I think Alabama does so in spectacular fashion. Um, we've never had a first round pick and the number one overall pick in the modern era, and I don't think there's ever been a school to have guys go one and two in the same draft. And I think that is a very high possibility tonight as Bryce Young and Will Anderson are in position to go one and two.
So you're feeling that D'Amico may go with uh, a defensive player if Bryce is not on the board,
I do feel that way.
and why do you feel that way?
Just from everything that I've been reading and hearing, that Bryce is their guy at quarterback. So if if the glass ceiling isn't broken tonight with Bryce going number one overall, I believe it's him at the number two pick. But if he does go number one overall, I truly believe that the Texans, from everything I've heard, view him a step above the rest of the quarterbacks and are willing to build around that defense after drafting Derek Stingley, number three overall last year, add an edge rusher, then potentially at number 12 get a quarterback. And then if they continue to struggle offensively, they'll be in position to get one of the guys in the 2024 class.
Yeah, Aiden, what are your thoughts in terms of you think it may go 1-2?
Oh yeah, I think it's almost assured. I would actually be really surprised if we don't. The only thing I could see preventing that would be Tyree Wilson. I think there's a strong chance that the connection to Texas Tech with D'Amico Ryans is stronger than the connection to Alabama. He never played for Nick Saban, but his former number two guy on defense in San Francisco and a close personal friend of his is a Texas Tech alumnus.
Okay. Yeah. So that's maybe an interesting turnaround or situation there. Do you feel X that CJ Stroud has lost ground because of when the results came out and start circulating with his cognitive test and all of that? Is that why Bryce has all of a sudden become the shoe in uh, to to this position versus CJ Stroud? Not only not going number one, but potentially falling, a couple. I hate using the term falling because no one no wherever you get drafted is where your value was based on the position. So you don't really fall; you just get picked. But I think y'all understand what I'm saying. Stroud was in that battle for number one. If he doesn't go number one, um, will he go to 3, 4, 5? Somewhere in there. And what do you attribute the distance that has happened? Uh, I guess in the last week or so.
Um, I feel like the test has played a part into it, but I think it's the test. And then, even though I really like Justin Fields as a quarterback, people were seeing that, and CJ doesn't have the athleticism that Justin has to make up for some of the potential lack in arm play. Even though I really believe he's a good quarterback, I think that's going to be in the back of some people's mind, just like there was for a long time with Alabama quarterbacks. But you have seen Alabama quarterbacks, when healthy, be successful in the last few years with Tua when healthy, with Mac healthy, and the right offensive coordinator, Jalen's success as well. So there's a few things trending right for Alabama quarterbacks in the NFL, whereas it still seems like a little bit of a struggle with Ohio State quarterbacks. And I think people overplay that sometimes.
Yeah, is that struggle? I guess when you think about the struggle of Justin Fields, is that going to potentially be a negative and cause Ohio State to potentially change the offensive philosophy? Because is it is it the style of offense and that they don't have to do a lot of reading? Is it that he's getting dinged for talent? Because he could go, and I love this, as low as number 4. I don't see the if the Texans take, a defensive player, the Cardinals will probably either take an offensive player or defensive. I mean, a potentially a running back or something, to help out. Maybe offensive lineman go defense, but I don't see them taking a quarterback. So then
No.
that leaves the Colts at number 4. But I guess Alabama's quarterbacks have come to the league now a little more pro ready. Um, than these other guys that are playing in these high powered offenses. And I guess the question I ask for both of you is, do you see that potentially swinging college football back to more of a not? I don't think we'll ever go fully back to pro style, because I think you are seeing the NFL make room for dual threat guys, but uh, you'll see some offenses get out of this run and shoot, hurry up and fire it, where you are throwing just to spots and not necessarily a whole lot of reading.
No, I don't think you'll see college football really make that much of a shift back. Simply, CJ has the same issue that a lot of people feel like Tua had with the weapons that he had around him. He had 2 first-round draft picks at wide receiver last year. You got Marvin Harrison and Emeka Abuka, I think is how you say his last name. I got 2 guys that'll probably be first-round draft picks next year at the wide receiver position. So I think that's what it is. It's the guys that around him, and they're going, oh well, and Olave and Garrett Wilson having great success as rookies. Everybody thinks Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to be as good as his dad or better. So I think
Everybody in Jigba. I mean, he has what's the name? He'll have a first rounder this year.
Oh yeah. Jackson Smith and Jigba. So you're talking about five wide receivers in 3 drafts that are most likely going to be first round draft picks. So I think that plays into it as well. Just kind of like little people were knocking to before this past year with, oh, he played with all these great wide receivers. So I think that plays into it as well.
Aiden, any thoughts on that before we get to break?
I think X kind of hit the nail on the head. I also think that I don't think the Big Ten's defense has quite been what the SEC's defense has been. I'm not calling it Big 12 defense, but I'm not sure how stiff the competition that CJ Stroud has faced outside of Michigan was.
Yeah, the elite defensive back play. I have not looked at it, but I'd be willing to bet there's a lot of elite DBs in the NFL that play under the
SEC
umbrella
guys.
of SEC. To my point, if I can point it out to us Alabama folks that are down on our quarterback play, that's the difference between playing against the first team and against the second team or third team DBs. Alabama got some elite DBs. I think some ready, some in the making. But anyway, we'll come back. It'd be a sweet ceiling to get. We can keep that conversation going if you'd like to. In terms of the NFL draft, that'd be sweet to break that glass ceiling. We can also, once again, start to talk a little bit about this particular Alabama team. But let's also, Alabama potentially agree or disagree, true, false. Alabama has 3 or more first round draft picks tonight. And if true, who will they be? We'll talk about it right here on the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier. More of that conversation coming up next.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
From the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center, no active wrecks on a rainy Thursday morning. Just slow down, be careful if you see conditions. Give me a call, 205-886-8886. The month-end countdown is on at Townsend Nissan. Deep discounts and top dollar for your trade. BJ will do what it takes to earn your business. I'm Captain Ray.
The Tuscaloosa Mayor's Cup 5K for pre-K will be April 29th at 8 a.m. in downtown Tuscaloosa. For more information or to register, go to TuscaloosaMayorsCup.com. That's www.TuscaloosaMayorsCup.com.
Join Macy's and Trust for Public Land to bring more parks to more people across the country now during Earth Month. Throughout April, you can help turn bare schoolyards into vibrant parks that communities can use outside school hours. Just donate online to Trust for Public Land or round up your Macy's store purchase up to 99 cents and donate the extra change. Give back today and find out how we're helping people and the planet thrive together now and all year round at Macy's.com/purpose.
The Venture X card from Capital One gives you premium travel benefits, perfect for seeing Taylor Swift The Eras Tour, presented by Capital One. Oh, I do love her. Earn 5 times miles on flights and 10 times miles on hotels through Capital One Travel.
Enjoy your stay in Suite 13.
Whoa, 13? That's Taylor's lucky number. The Venture X card from Capital One. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.
Dead battery, flat tire, out of gas, have an accident? When your auto won't go and you need a tow, call a pro. Jeff's Towing, 75 Skyland Boulevard, 205-361-3997, 205-361-3997.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
Cloudy, rain likely at times today, maybe a thunderstorm in spots, the high 72. Tonight, mostly cloudy with a chance of scattered showers and storms, the low at 60. Tomorrow, the chance of a shower early in the day, becoming partly sunny by afternoon, the high 75. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 57 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Scott Smith and Softmark Design, doing business for 17 plus years, specializing in graphic design services, commercial printing, promotional products, advertising specialties, and so much more. Basically, any and everything you would need to advertise, promote, and grow your business. Through strong partnerships, strong customer service, and creative ideas, they'll help you market and grow your business. Give Scott a call at 205-292-4680 or email scottis@comcast.net and visit them online at softmarkdesign.com.
The sound of Bama sports. Your show, your team. The Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Welcome back into the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier. I want to encourage you to go out to alabama1foundation.org, alabama1foundation.org, and register to sponsor and or play in the One Community Golf Tournament. I know the tournament is in June 21st, but teams and registration spots are being gobbled up now. But we'd love to have you go ahead and get registered to play. to play. So go ahead and register. If you want to sponsor the great event that helps us raise funds to support our community statewide through financial wellness, as well as working with families to help raise their level of financial well-being. You can do that by going to alabama1foundation.org. That's alabama1foundation.org. Together, we're stronger and stronger together. So check it out. All right. And if you're listening online, you can see the link and just click on that and follow it and register. All right. Aiden, I guess I need to give you a chance to rebuttal on the live stream. We had Curtis Moore, the second, go, Aiden. Georgia has capital E, an elite defense. CJ did well against them. I give you a chance to rebuttal.
No, I'm going to give Curtis Moore credit for that all day, actually, because that game against Ohio State was probably the first time I finally saw what everybody has been pretending to see with CJ Stroud through 2 years of starting. He was actually making reads, making good decisions with the football, being that sort of point guard like quarterback that we've seen Bryce Young be so consistently throughout his career. But he did it one time in one game against a Georgia defense that, yes, it was still very good, but it was not the Georgia defense of 2021, and I'm sorry, that's not a large enough sample size for me to say, oh, there we go. Everybody's been right for 2 years, and this is the number 2 overall pick or whatever. Like, I still just don't see it, man.
That X, you want to respond, and then I'll explain. Now, I think Ohio State could have and should have won the game. I think Georgia has been the best team in college football the last 2 years from start to finish. But I think they have had the exact same thing happen in both championship games that allowed them to get over the hump. Instead of a Georgia fan told me they always wait for the shoe to drop and something usually goes wrong for them. Well, in their 2 championship games, the teams were having great success against their defense, and they lost their number 1 receiver. Alabama lost, even though we had lost Mechie. Well, I'm talking about in that one game, because we had a chance to adjust, and then we went into the championship game. We had made the adjustments to not having Mechie. But then we lose Williams in the game. And you go back and look at offense before the injury versus after the injury, and then the same thing with Ohio State. But that injuries, like a Georgia fan and I were talking, that's part of the game. It's part of the game. If Tua doesn't get hurt, Alabama may not beat Georgia because Tua wasn't having a great game, and Jalen came in and took us to the promised land in that SEC championship game. So,
yeah, no, CJ was great against Georgia. Georgia has had the fortunate opportunity of beating teams not at full strength, but that's part of it. But I think he did play well in that game, and I think he did adjust after a time. But once again, it wasn't even that they didn't score enough. We talked about Alabama scoring enough to beat LSU, scoring enough to beat Tennessee. Their defense couldn't stop anybody, and that's what eventually led to their downfall. So while CJ did play a great game and played well enough to beat Georgia, I'd put it more on his defense of why they weren't in the net. Let's be real. That was the national championship game, just played a week early.
Yeah. Hey, but let me break it down for you guys. If you have questions about Stroud, let me tell you why the Georgia game doesn't settle it. How long did they have to get ready for Georgia?
A month.
Okay. And here's the thing. That's one of my things I don't like about the college football playoffs, guys, is because the best teams don't always win or advance. Those who have the best coaches and talent and can keep you see what I'm saying? There's a lot that goes into it. Think about this, Aiden, to your point. Why was he able to read so well against Georgia? Potentially. I'm not saying that he can't. I'm just saying if I'm a scout and I'm talking about investing a pick and I had questions going before the Georgia game or about his ability to read, and then I've taken that test and someone brings up, but look how well he played against Georgia's elite defense. My immediate comeback would be, we don't have a month to prepare for any games in the NFL except for the first one. The rest of the games all year, playoffs, etc., it's week to week to week. The longest time we'll have is a bye week in the season and a bye week before the Super Bowl. Can he get to that elite level that he played against Georgia in that scenario? And if you're Ohio State, how long did they really have? I mean, if you're Ohio State and you're hoping you get back in, you probably had more than a month. You know what I mean? Inside scoop for you guys may not have heard. When Alabama played Florida, Aiden and X in 2008 and got beat by Tim Tebow. You know what they said Saban did virtually every practice? He had a Florida period. So, so what did he think? Chances are, if we're going to get to the national title in 2009, we're going to have to go through who? Florida. He was correct, and he was ready for that game. So Georgia, if I'm Ohio State, I probably was preparing for Georgia a little bit, hoping that I would get back in to the national championship. So, and they did in the college football playoffs. And that's what I don't like about the college football playoffs, because it's really, at that point, it becomes so extended and so long. I wish it was closer and a little faster and not a month between. But that's just my thoughts. X, you got anything else? I'm going to see what Curtis had to say there.
Yeah, I was just reading what Curtis said, and he's right. Ohio State didn't even play in the conference championship game, which gave them even more time to prepare for Georgia potentially, or start preparing for whoever they felt like they were going to play in the playoffs. So he doesn't get that opportunity to go week in and week out prepping for as long as he did for Georgia. So can he do it on a week to week basis?
Yeah, and that's part of the question. But back to the Alabama guys, real quick. True or false? Will Alabama have 3 or more guys drafted in the NFL? If 3, who will it be? If 4, who will it be? If you say true in the first round, X.
I'm going to say true, and I'm going to go with 4, and it'll be Bryson Will at the top. Then you'll see Brian Branch probably late teens, early 20s. And then I think you have the teams at the back end, like a Philly or a Buffalo, that will potentially go after, or maybe even Cincinnati, trying to get off of that deal with Joe Mixon. That'll go after Jameer.
Aiden, your thoughts?
My answer pretty much matches X. I mean, there's zero chance Jameer Gibbs makes it out of the first round, because Cincinnati has picked 31. And if he's sitting on the board when Cincinnati rolls around, they're going to take him, and they're going to win 5 more Super Bowls because of it.
You didn't sound happy with that assessment.
I like
Aiden.
parody, Martin. All right. I mean, I like Andy Reid and his mustache and everything, but I like parody.
Oh man, so but I would say true, and I think Jameer may jump in front of Branch. And here's the only reason why. I think more DBs will go in the first round, but there's also, I think, more quality safeties in the draft. I think Branch may be the first, second, or third, guy of his position taken because of his versatility. I think he gives you so much. But I think Jameer Gibbs is the future NFL style running back. And how many of those guys are in this draft? So
I mean, is he future or is he current?
Well, I mean, when I'm saying future, I mean that you get him and he takes you to where you want to go.
I got
Not meaning that it's coming. Meaning like if I have a choice and I have the style running backs between, and Robinson is really good, Bijan, but I think Bijan is probably more of the past years and of the way running backs play, and I think Jameer is more of the way the running backs will be used this season forward, is what I meant by that. So, yeah. So I have 4, and I'll be shocked if he doesn't go somewhere in the middle of the draft. And And of course, it's always based on what's available. Huh?
So you think he could be late teens to early 20s?
Yes, I think he could be middle of the draft. I look at several teams, and hey, listen, don't put it past at 26. Don't put it past the Cowboys, just because Zeke is getting old.
Well, Zeke's gone.
I mean, I didn't realize Zeke's gone, so that tells you how far. So don't put if he's sitting there in the Cowboys. What have the Cowboys done effectively with their two running backs?
Rotation,
and now they have two of the same guys. I think, which makes their offense better. So, I
where
think
do you think Bijan got? Just to get a thought process, I do believe Jameer is more of the future, but I think Bijan isn't that far off, and he's a bigger guy. Like he gets the ball well out of the backfield and everything like that. So where do you see him going if you have Jameer going potentially that high? Could Jameer potentially go in front of Bijan?
I think he will go in front of Bijan, is what I'm saying. And I think Bijan, I don't think any of these guys get past if I'm looking at I just pulled up the as of yesterday, and 25 is the Giants, which they're not going to take a running back. Okay.
Saquon's holding out.
But I think they're going to pay him. Saquon, to me, Bijan is more of a Saquon type backs. So Dallas could take him. But then you got the Bills and the Bengals. Do you think the Bills, if only one of those guys is on the board, do you think they let that guy fall to the Bengals?
No.
At 28? You see what I'm saying? Like some draft pick, both of those 26, 27, 28 all have quarterbacks. Right? But what would make them better?
A go-to running back.
Yes. That can do a lot of stuff. And the Bills and the Bengals, so I don't see them going past that point, either one of them. I think you can see both of them go back to back if they're still on the board that low.
Martin, it feels to me like Philadelphia and Bijan are a match made in heaven. And quite frankly, Philadelphia's got all the players on the roster and the draft capital to burn number 10 on a bit of a luxury item.
And don't be surprised. That's what I'm saying is I look at that and go, ooh, the Eagles have been talking about a running back in the draft. In trade rumors. So that's a possibility. I won't be surprised with just his value.
Jalen and Bijan, that's a nasty dude.
I don't want that in the NFC East as a Commanders fan.
Get ready. But either one of those, I think both of those guys are gone definitely before the end of the first round. I think Branch is out of there as well. So Alabama gets 4 guys. So, hey, speaking of draft, well, the college football world has their draft. They call it recruiting. Coming back on the other side, we'll add Hank South into the conversation as he talks to us about Alabama's current recruiting in football, and we'll ask him a couple basketball questions as well.
This is a Town Square Media Tide 100.9 Sports Update.
I'm Kim Rankin with your Tide Sports Update. Alabama men's basketball transfer Jaquan Walton was arrested on Saturday night on marijuana charges. Multiple Alabama football players volunteered at the Tuscaloosa Metro Animal Shelter on Sunday.
This has been a Town Square Media Tide 100.9 Sports Update. Run it again! For more info on these stories and more, download the Tide 100.9 app.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
From the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center, no active wrecks on a rainy Thursday morning. Just slow down, be careful. If you see conditions, give me a call, 205-886-8886. The month-end countdown is on at Townsend Nissan. Deep discounts and top dollar for your trade. BJ will do what it takes to earn your business. I'm Captain Ray.
Come out and celebrate over 35 years of Sawyer Brown. Sawyer Brown, live in concert. Saturday, May 27th, 8 p.m. Pearl River Resort Silver Star Convention Center.
The race is on and here comes pride in the back.
On sale now. Purchase tickets at pearlriverresort.com. Sawyer Brown, only at Pearl River Resort Silver Star Convention Center.
The children's music and dance teacher who couldn't cha-cha. I was always on my feet. It was just so painful. Elisa couldn't let her students down. So she stepped up and went to the Good Feet store for personally fitted arch supports. I would work an entire day and my feet didn't hurt at the end of the day. That was when I knew, wow, these are different. But the really good part, it's good to be dancing together again. Stop by or schedule your free fitting at goodfeet.com.
Find your local Tuscaloosa Good Feet store in the Midtown Village.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? Starting trouble. No one likes that. We can get you set up for some stronger starts. You might just need a fresh charge, and we can take care of that free of charge. But if it is time for a new battery, we've got replacement batteries that'll fit your needs, starting at just $79.99. That's what makes us America's #1 battery destination.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
My friend and I are taking a trip to Mexico this year, but neither of us speak Spanish. So we downloaded Babbel and started learning Spanish fast.
Want to start getting conversational in another language in as little as 3 weeks? Babbel's quick 10-minute lessons were designed by language experts to be the most efficient and effective way to learn a new language.
¿Cómo te llamas? ¿Cómo te llamas?
Babbel, language for life. Celebrating 10 million subscriptions sold. Now try Babbel for free at Babbel.com. That's BABBEL.com.
Interact with the Martin Houston Show by calling us at 205-342-9904 or tuning into the Martin Houston Show on Facebook.
Welcome back into the Martin Houston Show with Martin Xavier, powered by MaX Sports. We're getting ready to kick off the second half, and we have recruiting extraordinaire Hank South of 247 Sports and Bama Online Recruiting joining us on the Alabama One hotline. How you doing this morning, Hank?
Hey, I'm good.
Yeah, Hank with us. Okay.
Yep.
Cool. He's doing good. So, Hank, this past weekend was A-Day. Can you talk about some of the guys that we had here visiting the capstone, checking out the 2023 version of Alabama?
Yeah, it was a pretty big weekend. A lot of top targets on hand, both 2024, 25 classes. I think one of the bigger, the bigger recruits of the day was DeMarcus Riddick, the 5-star linebacker that's committed to Georgia. There was some viral video of him riding with Nick Saban, shotgun, and then spending time with him. So he certainly got the first class treatment in terms of priority targets, and he certainly is that. Obviously, he's committed to Georgia, but he's visited Bama 3 times now this year, and he's not saying much, about where he stands with Georgia, but it looks like Bama's at least giving him some second thoughts. Auburn's pushing for him as well, but he was probably one of the most notable 2024 recruits on campus. Another big one, Jeremiah Beeman, the defensive lineman, 4-star defensive lineman from Parker High School in Birmingham. He was on campus again for the second time this spring, and Bama looks to be in a pretty good spot with him as well. Jaden Riddell, who's one of the top tight ends in the country, he was in town. He's from Missouri. He's going to be back for an official visit in the summer. A lot of these guys are going to all be back for official visits in the summer. So, kind of a little preview of what's to come. Then 2025, there was some major targets. Obviously, Ryan Williams, who's committed already, was on campus. But David Sanders, who's the #1 overall player in the top 247, who's a 5-star offensive tackle from North Carolina, he was on campus as well, and looks to have had a good time on his visit. Obviously, a bunch of commits came back in town. Julian Sayin, 5-star quarterback, was on campus, so that's always a big deal. Getting him in town to recruit. and keep that going. He was on campus last month as well. So 2 visits this spring for him. Perry Thompson, who hasn't really been to Bama all that much this spring. People have been kind of concerned about him visiting Auburn, but he was back in town, and we caught up with him, and he said he's all Alabama, 100% committed. So that was good news for Alabama. But overall, big weekend. Certainly building some momentum on that front, heading into the summer with official visits coming up and camp season coming up.
Awesome. So a couple guys released their top 8 yesterday. Aaron Hampton, 4-star, 5-star out of Texas, and Jordan Ross, the big defensive end out of Birmingham, Vestavia Hills. How's Alabama sitting with those two, and do you have a timeline on when they could be potentially committing?
Yeah, and those are 2 more 2024 guys that were on campus for A-Day. Aaron Hampton put out his top 2, Alabama and Texas. Not really surprised. That's kind of been the 2 schools most mentioned with him. He was actually committed to Texas at one point, backed off that commitment, and Bama's kind of been the trendy pick throughout the early parts of this year. And again, he was back on campus for A-Day. I think, when you come down to 2 schools, you're not far from a decision. So, I would expect something from him here, relatively soon. He's supposed to officially visit Bama the last weekend of June. And I believe he's going to be at Texas too, and kids put out top 2s, I'm sure he'll still take other visits. We'll see with that. But I think Bama's in a good spot for him right now. Obviously, he hasn't set a decision date, but I would think it's coming soon. And then Jordan Ross, narrowed it to 8. I don't think he's as much, narrowing it down in terms of, making a decision soon, maybe more towards the summer prior to the senior season. But Bama's in the mix. I thought it was interesting Auburn wasn't in the top 8. And, that kind of extends back to January when we caught up with him about his Bama offer. And he was saying he's not really close with this new Auburn staff. So, I don't know if they're going to have to play catch up, if they're just not going to recruit him or what. But interesting note there with the 24/7 Sports 5-star edge rusher from Vestavia Hills. But another guy who's likely going to officially visit Bama. All these kids, this new rule with official visits, like, that's not even really a big story anymore because they could take as many official visits as they want. So, kids could take upwards of, 10 official visits. So, I would imagine you can expect Jordan Ross to officially visit Bama as well. But a date's just not set yet. So, 2 big targets, 2 guys Bama's, right there in the mix with.
Awesome. Hey, we got Pat joining us on the Alabama One hotline. Pat, you're in with Hank South at 247 Sports and Bama Online Recruiting.
Coming to Tuscaloosa. Hey, can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so Hank, what do you think about Buckner visiting Tuscaloosa? I hadn't heard y'all talk about that yet.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. Obviously, I'm surprised. The Tyler Van Dyke stuff, surprised me. And obviously, this news surprises me as well. Obviously, there's the connection there with Tommy Rees, and he recruited him to Notre Dame and knows him well. But, you got 4 scholarship quarterbacks on the roster. Is it a depth move? Like what? Like, I wouldn't imagine he's picking somewhere to, be the backup. And, we've seen this happen before, 2018. We saw Bama go out and get a commitment from Gardner Minshew when they had Tua, Jalen, and Mac Jones all on the same roster. So, I mean, it's not completely unprecedented, but it's a little surprising. But, we'll see. There's word that he might be calling off his other visits. He was supposed to go to Auburn, I think. And that might not happen now, but he was in Tuscaloosa yesterday. Sounds like it was going well. So it is a little surprising, but I guess if you can get someone that's going to, the coaches know the roster better than we do. So if you to, raise the level of competition, then that's a guy to do.
Hank, let me ask you this question. Is this more, hold on, Pat. Hank, is this more him recruiting Alabama or Alabama recruiting him? Because there is a difference. Alabama would be crazy not to welcome him, but is this Alabama reached out to him, or is this him reaching out and Tommy, having recruited him, coached him, etc., says yes? Doesn't mean that they're not going to take him, but is that making sense? Like I've seen guys, I've seen guys use Alabama and relationships with Alabama coaches to get more teams interested in them, and Alabama really isn't recruiting them. You know, is this possibly one of those things, or is this a two-way love affair?
I would lean towards, you know, your the former, like, you know, saying him recruiting Alabama. But the only thing that gives me pause on that is, you know, obviously he entered the portal on Tuesday. He was in Alabama on Tuesday night, I think. So it's like, you know, and another interesting part of it is he put a no contact tag on his transfer portal, whatever release. Like, so he doesn't want schools contacting him. He only wants to contact schools. So he doesn't really, I guess he doesn't really want to be like, you know, traditionally recruited, or, you know, he already has, you know, an idea of where he's going. So, you know, it's hard to say, you know, if maybe if the coaches, you know that, you know, they're going to, you know, lose one of these guys, whether it be Simpson or Milrow in the portal, whoever is going to win the quarterback battle, they knew they needed some more experience at the quarterback position, you know, with two other true freshmen on campus, and then, you know, one guy that's been there a while. So, you know, that could be it. But, you know, it's very odd. I think there is interest in Alabama, or from Alabama's end, and, you know, I don't think they would host this visit without it. So, you know, it's going to be interesting to see kind of what unfolds.
I've managed people before, and I've had people that like, if I went to another job and they didn't like where they were at because I was gone, I would help them find another place. And if me showing them interest helps, and I sometimes wonder if that's what Tommy Rees is doing. I don't know that.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, like I said, if he decides he wants to come here and battle, I don't see Alabama turning him away. But I don't think that when you look at quarterbacks in the portal, what has he done that makes you put your program in jeopardy with 4 guys you've recruited when you've said, hey, we like to build our program from the guys we recruit? What about this player makes you take that chance? Is this a guaranteed upgrade?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, that would be my concern. But I toss it back to you, Pat, and X.
Okay. Real quick, then question: is Amadi Quinn going to be the quarterback for Texas when they come to Alabama in September? And can Alabama's defense, as you see it, handle Quinn Evers?
Yeah, you know, I thought, you know, the defense was a bright spot. Obviously, I mean, they looked pretty stout. You know, they're hitting guys. Obviously, we saw the Jake Pope hit that went viral, but yeah, no, it'll be interesting to see, because they have, you know, that's going to be a good test for Alabama in week 2. You know, Texas probably has one of the most experienced wide receiver rooms. Obviously, you know, if Ewers can stay healthy, they're going to be a pretty good test. But, you know, I think this Bama defense they seem up to the task. You know, I think Kevin Steele's kind of lit a fire in them a little bit more, kind of getting back to that you know, that standard. So, you know, we'll see. I'm excited for that one.
Yeah, me too. Have a blessed day. Thank y'all, boys. Yeah.
Yes, sir. You have a good one, Pat. Hey, Hank, can you stick around for a little bit longer, and we'll get to break and come back and finish this out?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, we're going to go ahead and get to break, and when we come back, we'll finish this recruiting segment with Hank South of 247 Sports and Bama Online Recruiting.
Here's what's trending on the Tuscaloosa thread.
Good Thursday morning. The University of Alabama's 6th annual giving event, known as Bama Blitz, raised over $2 million across the donations of 1,400 individuals. That, according to a release from the university. Bama Blitz is a 3-day event geared towards providing funding and exposure to Alabama's underserved programs and other projects on the UA campus. Click TuscaloosaThread.com for more local news, sports, and weather coverage throughout the day. It's free. Don Hartley, Town Square Media, Tuscaloosa.
Experience a level of performance you've never seen in a tournament bass boat until now in your new Camus Bass Boat powered by Mercury. From Boatworks in Northport, the overall ride and performance of Camus CX line powered by Mercury is a true game changer. They've been able to remove the chine walk without compromising top-end speed or rough water handling capabilities. See the complete line of Camus CX model bass boats powered by Mercury at Boatworks, located in the old L&L Marine location on Highway 82 West in Northport. It's the Tuscaloosa Community Calendar, powered by Pepsi. The Alabama One Aspire Foundation is offering free American Red Cross first aid and CPR training classes to the West Alabama community. The plan is to have at least 60 people certified by year end. All instructors are American Red Cross staff, and all materials are provided. Lunch will also be provided. Please join us as we learn to save a life, one compression at a time. Get details at alabama1foundation.org/CPR.
My friend and I are taking a trip to Mexico this year, but neither of us speak Spanish. So we downloaded Babbel and started learning Spanish fast.
Want to start getting conversational in another language in as little as 3 weeks? Babbel's quick 10-minute lessons were designed by language experts to be the most efficient and effective way to learn a new language.
¿Cómo te llamas? ¿Cómo te llamas?
Babbel, language for life. Celebrating 10 million subscriptions sold. Now try Babbel for free at Babbel.com. That's Babbel.com.
Keep it locked into Tide 100.9 for more of the Martin Houston Show with Martin Houston and X's and O's Sports, Xavier Houston.
Welcome back into the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier, powered by MaX Sports. We are back joined with Hank South of 2% Sports and Bama Online Recruiting. Hank, thank you for sticking around to answer some of these questions for us. Jalen Key, the UAB transfer, he's in the portal visiting Alabama. Is he really a position of need that Alabama's looking at going at, or is this another one of those, hey, if Alabama's showing interest, somewhere else will?
Yeah, I think this one is more, building a depth move. Jalen Key had a really good season last year for UAB. That was kind of his first breakout season. Obviously, Bama's replacing some veteran guys in the secondary. They look pretty solid with Downs and Christian Story and the guys playing on Saturday at A-Day. But certainly, if you can get another body in there that has experience that's played well, that's something you want to look at. Build some depth, have bodies. Experienced guys that can that's been around for a while. So I think there's legit interest there. It seems like he was on a visit yesterday. I think he's going to visit Ole Miss later this week, and I think some other schools are showing him interest as well. But I think it's real interest. But we'll see what happens. We've seen Bama make portal moves where it didn't. That class of 2021. That wide receivers class on paper was best in the country. That wasn't a position of need really in the portal, and they went out and added Jamison Williams, and that ended up being one of the most important offseason moves of that cycle. And then earlier this year they added Tresman Marshall, and now maybe it makes a little bit more sense. With you're replacing Henry To'oTo'o, some veteran guys, to get a guy that has SEC experience and has been around for a while. That could prove really important this year in terms of calling the defense. So it's not always clear. You see it and kind of react, knee-jerk reactions, but could be an important move. This fall.
And to switch things over to basketball real quick, Alabama got a couple of transfer commitments over the weekend. Aaron Estrada from Hofstra and I just drew a blank. Right Sale from Cal State Fullerton. What does that do for Alabama moving forward, especially with Jaquan Walton no longer being a part of this Alabama team going forward?
Yeah, it was. Estrada. Both those guys are huge additions. They're all conference players. Estrada was a top 25 scorer in the entire nation. So definitely, brings. He was always, one of the best guards available. Both of them were. There was Wrightsell was an all. I can't think of his conference. Big West, I think. He was an all-conference player on the first team. Same thing with Estrada. And then, everyone was, Bama's loading up on guards in the portal. And then, we see Jaquan Walton, lose his opportunity to play at Bama. So, we'll see what they do with that in terms of who they go after. There's been some other portal names that have been discussed, whether it be Trey White out of USC, who's a power forward. Bama's been recruiting BJ Mack heavily, the forward from Wofford, who's looks like he's going to be making a decision here pretty soon, maybe as soon as this week. South Carolina, Bama, Iowa are the main schools there. And then beyond that, will Bama, turn back to the 2023 class, maybe add some more talent. I know Nate Oates visited the Papa Conte this week. He's a 2023 guy. There's talk that Aiden Sherrill, who's another guy in 2023, could reclassify. So there's still plenty of options. Bama's not going to be left hanging. With the Jaquan Walton news coming out, they have, assuming if Quinterly and these guys all come back that are testing the NBA draft waters. I believe without Walton, there's 2 spots left. So we'll see how Bama fills those. But obviously there's a lot of interest in Alabama. They're coming off being the number 1 overall seed. People are taking notice. So we've seen that with Wrightsell and Estrada. They took notice, and I think other big names will too when all is said and done.
Speaking with Hank South, 247 Sports, Bama Online Recruiting. Hank, 2 quick questions. One, kind of the same topic, basketball and then football. Have you heard whether some of these Bama guys are coming back? And is that 2 you're talking about based on none of the guys leaving, other than, Miller and Clowney? Is that with the expectation that all the rest of them come back, or is that with all of those guys leaving?
No, so if there's 2 spots left, that's not. Miller and Clowney are gone, obviously.
Right.
But if Bediako, Mark Sears, Quinterly, if those 3 come back, there's 2 spots left. So if all those 3 guys stay in the draft, there would be 5 spots left. So,
okay, that's what
it's it's a pretty big difference. But I think the expectation is guys like Bediako and Sears are going to come back. They're getting their NBA feedback. I guess Quinterly, I haven't heard what's going through these guys' head, but I think that was the original expectation, is at least Bediako and Sears will be back. Quinterly, I guess, is more of a question, but certainly could be back as well.
Yeah. Could we have the Bediako brothers as a fallback? I just thought about that. But here's the other question that you just need to write an article on it and tell us where we can find it. We're talking about Alabama was already over their number of scholarships. Are we hearing anything from guys jumping into the portal? And we can talk about that next week, Hank. But that you're talking about some potential guys transferring in, and we were already over. So that tells me that we may have some guys go out. You gonna be writing an article on any of that coming up in the next week or so?
Charlie Potter's been doing some good scholarship management stuff throughout the spring, so we'll see. But yeah, that portal window in terms of entering it closes, I think, on Sunday. So it could be a news weekend in terms of more decisions all across the country. We're with guys still entering the portal, so there's still time to work with that.
Yeah, so we'll follow you and tell them where we can follow you, Hank, and then we'll check out Charlie as well.
Yeah, BamaOnline.com. Charlie and Travis and Kirk do a great job with Team Site, and then we always have solid recruiting stuff as well. So BamaOnline.com. My Twitter handle is @HankSouth247.
All right, @HankSouth247 Sports, best follow in recruiting. Thanks, Hank. We'll catch up with you next week. That's Xavier Houston. I'm Martin Houston. That's Aiden Dollins. Thanks to all the callers, listeners, viewers, and chatters out there for being a part of the show. We appreciate you. Remember this: trust in the Lord always, lean not your own understanding. All your ways acknowledge Him, and He will direct your path. We'll be back on tomorrow for more great conversation right here on the Martin Houston Show, powered by MaX Sports.
Thank you for listening to the Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.